It's great to be given the chance to develop something completely from scratch where you're given a blank canvas. And this has given me the chance to take a closer look at our learner needs and how that's changed and how people prefer to learn now, but also to look at the business context. And, we obviously have a lot of new challenges on our doorstep. And as lean educators, we now need to respond to those changes. So I'll put together a presentation here for you to explain the program, and you can see our thinking and you can get a sense of where we're taking it. More importantly, I hope it will inspire you to want to be a part of this. So I'll cover a few things. I'll talk to you a little bit about what you'll learn and how you'll learn it and who you're going to learn from. And of course, your time commitment. What are the expectations and what investment do you need to make in order to be a part of this as well? So I just put this right up front because, what will you learn? And first and foremost, you're going to learn more about yourself. It's very stressful to be studying and working at the same time, as many of you are going to be doing. And to create that work-life balance is going to be tough. So I think you will certainly learn a lot about yourself and what you're capable of. You'll also learn about your own personal leadership style. And what I hope you'll take from this also is that you'll learn about your potential. What you can amend, what you can change in your leadership style to really bring your team on board. Now, many of you have already engaged in some kind of transformation in the organization, or you've done some continuous improvement activities or business improvement, and you'll know that this is pretty tough. There's nothing easy about doing this. And yes, you can learn the tools and techniques, and we are going to spend a fair amount of time equipping you with those tools and techniques so that you've got enough options to be able to understand and develop your thinking with regards to the problems. But you'll see, because of the focus of this program, we're very much going to be talking about how do you lead lean transformation and how do you enthuse your team to follow and to support you with the change. And that's a much harder achievement. Of course, we do want you to get some outcomes from this as well. So we want you to personally develop and get your personal outcomes from this, but also you're looking for business outcomes. So you've got a challenge in your organization that you'll use in order to learn some of the tools and techniques and approaches. And hopefully you'll also start to see how you can take your organization from where it is to where it needs to be, using the thinking that we share with you. Now, we have a pretty comprehensive program that we've put together for you. And for those of you who are familiar with it, you'll know that this is structured over a 2-year period. And in the first year, we cover these 8 modules. And going back to the previous slide where I spoke about the fact that we're trying to equip you to lead transformation, but also to understand the tools and techniques and to get outcomes, you'll see that each one of these modules will help you to achieve that. So we'll begin with the Lean Playbook, which is really looking at about the principles, the frameworks, the systems, and the tools that all fit together, almost in a puzzle-like format. And I want to show you what each of those puzzle pieces look like and what you can expect also throughout the rest of the modules. So we'll give you some of the basics around the thinking of lean and all the important elements that you need to consider when you're leading lean transformation. In Learn by Improving, we concentrate quite a bit more on the detailed tools and techniques that can help you. And here we learn to visualize our problems better, understand them better, understand the work better, and start equipping ourselves with the approaches to improve our value streams. So developing a scientific mindset in ourselves as well as in our teams is a really important element of running experiments and making changes happen. So we will teach you here about how to find the right problems, both unknown and known problems, not just the stuff that you're used to seeing. I'm going to push your learning boundaries a bit there, but then we'll show you the techniques in how you deal with those problems at various levels in the organization. So we do delve into A3 thinking and we delve into Carter, but at the same time, I also want to give you a very comprehensive idea of what peer learning, collaboration, and action learning can bring to the party here. So modules 1 to 3 have been pretty comprehensive and quite tool heavy, which I think you do need. You do need to equip yourself with tools, even if you don't use all of them in your organization. At some point in your life, you may. And into module 4, I now want to lift you out of the detail, and I want to show you the helicopter view of how do you now choose what to improve in order to achieve enterprise-wide transformation. So in this section here, it's a really exciting section because we're going to contrast and compare traditional thinking, traditional strategy and business models with what the lean strategy, lean business model looks like. And we're going to show you how to also look at the financial side of the improvements. And in addition to that, we'll look at traditional accounting versus lean accounting methods. Once we've understood what we're trying to improve and what the lean strategy looks like, the next challenge is now how do we connect the strategy with the action on the ground and what people are doing every day. So we will look at Hoshin Kanri and policy deployment and how do we cascade the thinking throughout the ranks to ensure that everyone's on board and the change management associated with that. So Module 5 is an incredibly exciting module, and it's got an interesting title, Planet Lean and Green, but essentially what we're trying to do here is we're trying to lift us out of the habit of only looking at, process optimization, system optimization, company-wide improvement, and focusing on things like quality, cost, and delivery, because there's more to our goals than that. There's more to the strategy than that. And we also have social goals that we need now to bring into the picture. So here we're trying to develop eco mindsets. So we will be teaching you some tools and techniques related to green value stream mapping and identifying green wastes. But more importantly, how do we connect that into the strategy and again with what people are doing on the ground? We'll expand it beyond sustainability also to other responsible practices, and we'll expand the thinking also to diversity and how we build our teams, gender equality, and some of the other goals as well we'll cover. Now with Module 6, we've already actually touched on some of the elements that we'll cover in Module 6 in various stages throughout the other modules, but the concentration here is how do we really develop our own leadership style so that we can bring out the best in our own teams. And what does that look like in terms of our personal behaviors, our habits, our routines, and what we do as leaders to set the example and to set the scene for the rest of the team. In design and innovation, this also gets quite exciting because what we're doing here is we're taking a look at our products and our services. So do we have the right products and services that we're offering to our customers? And if we have the right ones, how do we get them to market faster? So we'll engage with some really exciting speakers here who will teach you more about design, innovation, design thinking, systems thinking, and how you can bring that into your product development processes. Now we'll finish off the year with Future Lean, Module 8, and also another really interesting module, which, if I'm honest, I think is going to be developed right up to the point where we're about to deliver it, because things are changing so quickly. And our intention here is to give you a sense of, how industry has changed over the centuries, right from our industrial revolution up until Industry 5.0. What does that look like? We're going to talk about, the latest in technologies, available technology, smart factories, and of course, how do you bring digital transformation into your organization? There's going to be a strong element on human capacity here. So, how do we develop our people into future workers alongside the new technology that we're bringing online? And there's no doubt in our mind that we've seen a lot of organizations invest huge amounts of money in new technology without really getting the benefit from it. So we want to use lean thinking practices and principles here to make sure we really do understand what problem we're trying to solve before we assign the technology to it. Now, I know I've really just sort of skimmed over the content here, so but it's just the nature of the presentation, how much time we have. But what I've put together for you is a more detailed handbook in which I'll take each of these modules and break it up into its bits so that you can see exactly what we're covering. So how are we going to deliver this content and this learning? We've got various ways in which we're going to do it. And of course, we do have challenges with COVID in that we initially cannot go to sites and be on campus for the first few months. But we've got a plan for that, and I think it's going to work very nicely. So the learning content that we've put together for you is coming in various ways. And On the one hand, we're going to be providing you with an overview virtual learning where you can basically learn the content in your own time, but also bringing in some really incredible subject matter experts who are also going to be doing some lectures for you. So that'll make up the learning content that you go through for each module. In addition to that, where you're learning online, you'll also be invited to live sessions with myself and with other guest lecturers, where you'll be able to ask specific questions relating to your specific environment and start to internalize this learning in the context of your own workplace. We've put together a phenomenal amount of information that you can access in terms of the latest thinking, in terms of peer-reviewed articles, books, literature that you can go through. But we do, of course, at a master's level, expect you to do your own independent research. So that is quite a big part of what we're doing. And I'll describe the hours for you just now. And of course, the other part of delivering this is to ensure that you are understanding the content, understanding the knowledge. We do need to test you, assess you in terms of your knowledge and understanding of the content, of your cognitive development throughout the program, as well as the practical application and how you're using this in context. So we have got various assessments that we will use, both formative and summative. So what's the timing of the program? And you can see it kicks off pretty soon, actually. We start in May of this year, spring 2021. And you'll see how the various modules are structured across the year. So, May and June, we're going to look at the first two modules, and then we've got a bit of a break, and then we carry on in September. Next year, we'll kick off with Become the Change, and then we'll finish off with Design Innovation and Future Lean. So it's spread out across the year, but there will be activities and expectations in between these sessions. So, even though you might be quiet in terms of the learning content over July and August, there will still be things happening and things that you need to prepare and learn. Now, you probably saw in the previous slide that each of the modules is basically structured within a month. So, for example, the Lean Playbook starts in May and it runs for the period of May. And how we basically take that month and break it down is what you're seeing in front of you here. And in the first 2 weeks, we ask you to engage with the learning materials. So you'll go through the online lectures. You'll have the lecture from the subject matter expert, as well as some live sessions where we actually bring you together as a group, together with the guest lecturers, to be able to ask questions and internalize some of the material that's been covered. I did mention that we're only going to start our host visits later in the year. That'll approximately be in the second half of the year. And where applicable, then when we're running workshops on site or on campus, it'll also be structured in the first 2 weeks of the module. Then in week 3, we will invite you to book us. So book some time with us where you can have smaller group sessions. And essentially what will happen here is you'll get more personalized coaching to suit your own personal learning. And in a way, you'll have your own sensei activities taking place in week 3. So we will ask you to book time with us and then to come to us with specific questions and learning that you need support with, and we will respond. In addition to that, as I mentioned, there's certainly going to be a fair amount of reading that you need to do and research, independent research, and we give you a chance in week 3 to start catching up with that. So that by week 4, you are starting to get ready to submit your assignment. So I'll explain the assessments just now, but essentially each module will have an assignment where you need to answer a question and prepare a 2,000-word document. And essentially that'll happen in week 4. In addition to that, you'll see we've got A3 presentations. Now, this is a dynamic A3. This is something we're going to build over time with each module. As you learn more, you're going to be building on your A3s. And what we'd like to see you do in week 4 is come together with your peers and present your progress so that we can all give you feedback and give you some support with your thinking and where you're going with your work. So that's the basic structure, weeks 1 to week 4, and throughout that period, you'll see I've got a little arrow there. You'll be expected to build a learning portfolio, so to really capture your learning and your reflections across each month. Of course, in year 2, you would have gone through all those modules. You would have, learned the tools, the techniques, the frameworks, the context. You would have been equipped with quite a lot of information, as well as your own independent research. And you would have done some activities on site by that time. So now you're in a position in year 2 to start working on your thesis, which is your work-based project. And we will do a few workshops here. And these workshops will cover things like literature reviews and your research skills and how to hone those. How will you develop your research question? What's the problem that you aim to solve? And we'll also give you guidance on how to gather your data, analyze your data, and start to put together your presentation of your findings so that you can build your thesis, build your report, and set out your recommendations. So how will you be assessed? Of course, we have an assessment after each module. So for each of those 8 modules that you saw, you will be asked to complete a written assignment, which makes up 60% of your marks. And then towards the end of each module, you will present your A3, but also, develop your A3. And as I mentioned before, it's dynamic, it keeps changing, you keep building on it, and that makes up 40% of your mark for the particular module. Then for your thesis, you will be presenting your findings at that point, and that'll make up 20% of your mark. And then your final submission, your 10,000 word written project, will make up 80% of your assessment. So who will you learn from? I mean, I think this is quite exciting, this part, and perhaps what makes the program quite unique. And you will learn from us, you'll learn from myself and John and a few others that you are familiar with at Buckingham University. But of course, you're going to learn from the guest lecturers that we bring in and ask to impart their knowledge with you. One of the biggest learnings that we found from past students is they really enjoyed learning from each other. So because you're all in this together and you're all learning this together and you're bumping your heads together, there's a tremendous amount of cross-learning and collaboration that also takes place between the students, and I think you'll find that quite beneficial. Of course, I'm incredibly excited by some of the speakers that we'll have involved, and I call them contributors because various people will come in and contribute in different ways. Some of these lecturers and contributors will actually provide you with pretty long lectures, so you'll spend a few hours with them and you'll do some live sessions with them. In other cases, we'll do shorter sessions, but essentially you're going to be able to benefit from the thinking and the experience of all these guest lecturers that we've got in mind, these guest speakers we've got in mind. And this is also not a complete list. There are a few other people I still have in mind, but I wanted to demonstrate for you here the richness of the content of what we're going to bring to this program and the diversity in terms of the perspectives that we'll get. And you'll see also this is a global footprint, so we've got people from around the world that are going to be contributing to your program. So what is your involvement here? What is your commitment? What do we need from you? And of course, this is going to be a massive investment in your time in order to get through the program. But it is an investment in your future, and that's more important. So how will it look? For the first year, you have your 8 modules that you will complete. And for each module that you attend, you will be in contact with us for 24 hours. So it is obviously spread out over that month in the weeks that I showed you, but that's 24 hours of contact time. In addition to that, you would be expected to do your own independent research. It is an expectation of a master's student that you do a lot of guided and independent research, and that will make up 126 hours for the year. And from that, once you have passed your assessments, you can earn your credits. In year 2, of course, the contact time is lower, but you can see the independent and the guided hours are nearly 600 hours in total. So that's a tremendous commitment that you need to plan for in your second year, and then you earn your 60 credits. In terms of the pricing of the program, we've actually maintained the same price from the previous program. It's just over £9,000 per year. But in addition to that, because we've engaged with quite a bit of virtual learning here, and we've changed the way in which we're delivering the program, you'll see that the time investment in flying around and having to be there for every single module is not as intense. So we definitely will have host site visits, campus visits. There will still be a very strong practical element. But in the first part of the modules, in module 1, module 2, I think into module 3, you're going to be doing quite a bit of this virtually. So that also has an impact on your budget and your ability to be able to take part in the program. So of course, I'm hoping now that you've seen the basic content here, and when you read through the handbook that I'll send you, you will be excited to want to join us and become part of this next generation of lean leaders that we're developing here. And at this point, I think we'll take your questions, and we're very excited to hear what questions you do have, so please do feel free. We might not get through all of your questions today, and for those of you who are not attending, who are actually watching this after the event, I do encourage you to email your questions to me as well, and we will get back to you. Thanks very much for your time, for your attention. I hope this was helpful, and yeah, let's hear from you. Let's hear what you think. And if you need any confirmation that becoming a student of Buckingham is quite special, it's the 9th of March today, and we have the most beautiful day here in Buckingham, which is one of the historic market towns here. And of course, Buckingham University is one of the oldest independent universities in Britain. So we pride ourselves in being independent in our thinking. And we do hope to welcome you here.